You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Digital certificates are electronic credentials that bind an entity's identity, such as a website, person, or device, to a cryptographic public key. Their primary purpose is to support secure communications by proving that a public key truly belongs to its claimed subject. In protocols like TLS, certificates enable browsers to verify that a website is genuine and safe to communicate with. By combining identity information with cryptographic validation, digital certificates ensure that trust in the digital world is anchored to verifiable, machine-readable proofs rather than simple assumptions. Certificate authorities, or CAs, are trusted entities that issue and validate certificates. When a CA signs a certificate, it vouches for the authenticity of the subject's identity and binds it to a specific key. The entire system of digital trust depends on the reputation and security of these authorities, since a compromised or careless CA could undermine the integrity of many dependent services. CAs thus play a vital role as trust anchors, enabling global-scale identity verification and ensuring that certificates are reliable in practice. Certificates are organized into a hierarchy: root, intermediate, and leaf certificates. A root certificate sits at the top of this chain and is self-signed by the CA itself. Root certificates are pre-installed in operating systems and browsers as inherently trusted. Intermediate certificates are issued by root authorities and used to sign end entity or leaf certificates, creating a chain of delegation. Leaf certificates are those assigned to actual entities, such as a server or user. This structure distributes trust carefully, limiting exposure while maintaining verifiable relationships from root to end user. The lifecycle of a certificate follows predictable stages: enrollment, issuance, renewal, and revocation. Enrollment begins with a request, typically a certificate signing request, CSR, followed by issuance when the CA validates and signs it. Certificates must eventually be renewed before expiration to maintain continuity of trust. Revocation occurs when a certificate is compromised, misissued, or no longer needed. This lifecycle requires active management, since expired or invalid certificates can break services or create vulnerabilities. For learners, the lifecycle demonstrates how digital trust must be managed continuously rather than set once and forgotten. A certificate signing request, or CSR, is the initial message an entity generates to obtain a certificate. The CSR includes the entity's public key and identifying information, but keeps the private key secret. The CA uses this request to validate the subject and create a signed certificate. Conceptually, the CSR is like an application form for digital identity, ensuring that the CA can issue certificates without ever handling sensitive private material. It reinforces the principle of separation of responsibilities in PKI. Revocation is an essential part of certificate management. Two common mechanisms are certificate revocation lists, CRLs, and the Online Certificate Status Protocol, OCSP. CRLs are published lists of invalidated certificates, while OCSP provides real-time queries to determine if a certificate is still valid. Both serve the same purpose: ensuring that a certificate can be withdrawn from trust before its natural expiration if it is compromised or no longer legitimate. Revocation closes the gap between issuance and expiration, ensuring that certificates remain reliable throughout their lifespan. Self-signed certificates are issued and signed by the same entity without a trusted CA. They are useful in internal or testing contexts, but are not automatically trusted by browsers or operating systems. Because no external authority vouches for them, self-signed certificates require manual distribution and trust configuration. While they can provide encryption, they lack the trustworthiness of certificates issued by reputable CAs. Learners should recognize self-signed certificates as practical tools in limited contexts, but not as substitutes for globally trusted certificates. The concept of a trust chain describes how certificates are validated from end entity back to a root authority. When a browser connects to a secure site, it examines the leaf certificate, verifies the intermediate certificates, and ultimately checks that the root is already trusted in its store. Chain validation ensures that each certificate is issued by a legitimate authority, building confidence step by step. Without this chain, digital identities would lack structure and users would struggle to distinguish legitimate sites from imposters. Certificates contain fields that define their usage and scope. These include the subject, which names the entity, the issuer, which is the signing CA, the validity period, which sets start and end dates, and usage fields, which dictate the contexts in which the certificate may be applied, such as digital signatures, TLS server authentication, or code signing. These fields ensure that certificates are used properly and that their legitimacy is transparent to systems and users. For learners, examining certificate fields reveals how identity, purpose, and authority are encoded in trust artifacts. Basic PKI management tasks involve tracking certificate inventory, ensuring timely renewal, revoking compromised certificates, and monitoring for misissued or expired credentials. An inventory allows organizations to see where certificates exist, what they protect, and when they expire. Without such oversight, certificates may lapse unnoticed, causing outages or compliance violations. PKI management is thus both a technical and organizational responsibility, requiring coordination across IT, security, and governance teams. Private key protection is a cornerstone of certificate security. While the public certificate can be shared openly, the private key must be kept secret and secured with encryption, hardware modules, or access controls. If a private key is stolen, attackers can impersonate the certificate owner, breaking trust entirely. Secure handling, backup, and storage of private keys ensures that the trust model behind certificates remains intact. For learners, the takeaway is simple. The security of certificates depends less on the math and more on how private keys are protected. Ultimately, certificates form the backbone of secure protocols, including TLS, S/MIME for email, and code signing. They enable authentication, encryption, and trust on a global scale. Without certificates, secure web browsing, digital commerce, and many enterprise services would not be possible. Learners should understand that certificates are not optional extras, but the very infrastructure that makes trusted communications and digital identity management feasible across the Internet. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Certificate renewal must occur before the expiration date to prevent service disruptions. Ideally, renewal begins weeks in advance, giving administrators time to validate ownership, issue new certificates, and replace the old ones in production systems. Expired certificates break secure connections, causing applications, websites, or APIs to appear untrusted. Renewal planning ensures continuity of trust and avoids the operational chaos that arises when an overlooked expiration disables critical services unexpectedly. Automated certificate management tools help organizations handle the complexity of issuing, renewing, and revoking certificates at scale. These tools integrate with servers and applications, automatically replacing certificates before expiration. Automation reduces human error, prevents downtime caused by forgotten renewals, and enforces consistent policies across environments. For large enterprises managing thousands of certificates, automation is no longer optional but a requirement for operational efficiency and resilience. Certificate revocation lists, or CRLs, are one of the oldest methods of informing systems that a certificate is no longer valid. A CRL is a periodically published list from a certificate authority that includes the serial numbers of revoked certificates. Systems must download and check against the CRL to validate trust. While effective, CRLs can grow large and introduce delays, making them less suitable for environments requiring real-time validation. Nevertheless, they remain an important fallback in PKI management. The Online Certificate Status Protocol, or OCSP, addresses CRL limitations by providing real-time status checks. Instead of consulting a large list, systems send a query to the CA or responder to determine whether a specific certificate is valid, revoked, or unknown. This approach is faster and more efficient, especially for high-traffic services like web browsing. OCSP enables dynamic, up-to-date trust decisions, ensuring certificates cannot be misused once revoked. Expired or misissued certificates carry significant risks. An expired certificate can abruptly block access to services, damaging availability and customer trust. A misissued certificate, perhaps granted to an attacker, undermines authenticity, enabling impersonation or man-in-the-middle attacks. Both scenarios demonstrate how certificate failures are not theoretical but directly impact security and business operations. Proper governance and monitoring reduce these risks by catching issues early. Certificate pinning adds a further layer of security by tying an application or service to a specific certificate or public key. This prevents attackers from using fraudulent certificates, even if issued by a trusted CA. While pinning strengthens trust, it creates management complexity, since legitimate certificate updates must be carefully coordinated. If pinning is not updated properly, applications may fail to connect even to trusted servers. Thus, pinning is powerful but must be balanced with careful lifecycle planning. Maintaining a comprehensive certificate inventory is an operational priority. Organizations must know where certificates are deployed, when they expire, and who owns them. Without visibility, expired or orphaned certificates can go unnoticed, creating vulnerabilities. Inventory systems often include monitoring, alerting administrators of upcoming renewals or unusual certificate activity. Monitoring ensures that PKI does not operate in the shadows but as a transparent, managed service. Wildcard certificates and subject alternative name (SAN) certificates extend certificate coverage across multiple domains or subdomains. A wildcard certificate secures all subdomains of a given root. For example, times.com, example.com. SAN certificates allow multiple specific domains to be listed in one certificate. Both approaches reduce the number of certificates required, but must be handled carefully, as compromise of a wildcard certificate exposes many services at once. Learners should recognize these as tools for efficiency with distinct risk considerations. Private keys tied to certificates must be handled securely and backed up carefully. Losing a private key makes the certificate unusable, while exposing it enables impersonation. Keys should be encrypted at rest, restricted to authorized processes, and ideally stored in hardware security modules. Backup strategies must balance availability with secrecy, ensuring keys remain recoverable without increasing the chance of compromise. Governance of certificate authorities is vital for maintaining global trust. Root certificates, in particular, represent the foundation of the trust chain and must be protected with extreme caution. Root keys are often stored offline in hardened facilities and used sparingly to issue intermediate certificates. Governance processes ensure that CAs follow strict standards for validation, issuance, and security. A single compromised CA can jeopardize thousands of organizations, underscoring the importance of strong oversight. Certificate management must be recognized as an organizational service requiring structured processes. It is not enough to issue certificates reactively. Organizations must maintain policies, inventories, automation, and governance frameworks to ensure ongoing trust. Treating PKI as a managed service ensures that trust is preserved across its entire lifecycle, from issuance to expiration or revocation. In summary, certificates and the authorities that issue them are central to trusted communications and identity management across the Internet. From TLS to code signing, certificates prove authenticity and enable encrypted connections. Effective management, including renewal, revocation, inventory, and governance, ensures these trust anchors remain reliable. Learners should view PKI not as background infrastructure but as one of the most critical services supporting modern security. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.